Sam Ladendorf, The Countdown. New Year's Eve just wouldn't be the same at the pub without Tanya performing. Tanya saw herself as an entertainer, but she knew she hadn't always been born one. At 25, she had better control over her voice and a wider vocal range, but nearing 50, she was capable of only standing on stage, armed with an acoustic guitar and a handful of sound effects, and keeping her audience focused up to 4 hours. It had taken her years to master the craft, but she made no secret of rules with what she controlled the rooms to perform in. I'm an entertainer, not an artist. I play at pubs, not concert halls. I sing songs people want to hear, not the songs I want them to listen to. Her repertoire was vast and embraced genres seldom held together, from folk to thrash, metal to punk rock. She was capable of starting a set with Black Sabbath's Paranoid and following it with Iron Maiden. The hard rock fans still roaring their approval, offering a raunchy version of I Kissed a Girl. You're wearing a Motorhead t-shirt, but I've seen you just singing along to Katy Perry, Tanya once taunted a man sitting at the bar. Much to his friend's enjoyment, that is not a sin. But I still think you're going to have to make it up to us. I'm going to sing the verses of Drunken Sailor, and I'm going to need you on stage to sing it with me, says Tanya. The pub erupted into cheering. A barman tapped Tanya's victim on the shoulder and handed him 2 glasses of whiskey. This one's for Tanya, the other one's for you, but you have to drink it on stage with her. Every step he took towards his destiny was greeted with applause and encouragement. He had no time to reconcile the feelings of dread and relish coming through him. They drank the shots together, and his friend poised with their mobile phones ready to film the approaching carnage. Tanya had seen it all before. She had no idea how many people she had induced to share the spotlight with her, but these men and women, and many more like them, will remember such nights for years to come. New Year's Day came an hour before her gig was scheduled to begin. A friend sent Tanya a text. The pub was already dangerously full, and he didn't recognize many of the people there. It was the same people usually every year. Lengthy traditions create legends, and although Tanya played regularly in the pub, New Year's Eve was altogether a different animal. After 4 hours, she would have it tamed, but it was an exhausting experience, and she was sure she'd come out of it scratched, if not scarred. There was no room for intimacy, no room for her to interact with her public. The members of the audience on these nights do not request songs, they demand. The politest of individuals are capable of impoliteness on December 31st. It's though we have a yearly supply of unpleasantness inside us, and it has to be unleashed before the clock strikes midnight. Tanya pushed her way to the front of the stage at 5 minutes before 8. A cheer went up, and a group of young men she had never seen before started to begin to chant her name. She had set up her equipment and done a sound check earlier that afternoon, so having made sure her guitar was tuned and all the cables were where she had left them, she switched on the sound system and turned to a face of 200 faces, a sea of faces where she had never seen before. "She's ancient," she heard a man commenting through disbelieving laughter. Tanya smiled and promised herself that this was her last New Year's Eve on stage, took a determined slug from her beer bottle, and came out swinging. No introductions or welcoming words, no witty comments between tunes. She instead pummeled them with hits. The Proclaimers, CCR, Oasis, AC/DC. Tried and trusted numbers she knew she had never got tired of singing because they always produced the results that she wanted. She let the applause fill the room for 10 or 15 seconds, tapped the pedal in front of her, and from the acoustic to the electric, she sent them crashing into the opening chords of Smells Like Teen Spirit. The man who had joked earlier about her age stood up and started wildly punching the air. She had them where she wanted them, and now it was just a question of keeping them there. She had broken up her set into 10, 15-minute parts, and she let the mellower songs to mark the end of something. It was only then that she had noticed a man standing alone to the left of the stage, seemingly unconscious of the celebrations around him, the focus of his gaze impossible to spot the ball on. He sipped his beer from time to time and clapped when he noticed other people were doing so, but was otherwise motionless. 35 years of age, Tanya had generally been quite accurate with her estimates. She had found him intriguing, not his being alone or how he looked, but his unhappiness. He had chosen to stand in a room full of celebration, but he seemed to be sinking further and further into himself. But Tanya wanted to do something for this man. She wanted to cheer him up somehow. The faces of 199 men and women were fading faster and faster. The closer they edged towards a new calendar, and he couldn't have guessed, but this was all about him now. It had happened spontaneously. Tanya took a look at her phone and saw that there were only 60 seconds to midnight. The man looked her way, and he motioned for her to help. She feigned a back problem and asked him to help up with something that she had dropped. He came onto the stage and he asked, "What is it you need?" he asked her. She straightened up and put her arm around his shoulder, held up her phone in front of him, and held a microphone to his mouth. "Count with me," she ordered him. 10, 9, 8. And he had robotically fell into rhythm, no time to think about the crowd he was directing. Tanya's voice dropped to a whisper, and it was all about him now. 4, 3, 2, 1. "Happy New Year," he shouted. His words were greeted by an explosion of noise, cheering party horns, ABBA on the stereo, pockets of people bursting into celebration. A woman jumped on the stage and hugged him, telling him he had done really well. He had turned to Tanya, a look of elation covering his features. She had held her arms open. He walked into her embrace, and he wanted to thank her, but found himself suddenly sobbing violently instead, the untold sadness finding an outlet that he could rush into. She held him and muttered an apology. "It's okay," she told him as they parted. "It's okay. Happy New Year," he smiled. Happy New Year. As the night ended and the pub cleared out, Tanya was only left with the staff of the bar at the end of the night. Tanya nodded her thanks to the staff. "It looked like hard work with the crowd tonight." "I hate playing here on New Year's Eve," Tanya said. "But it's tradition," said the manager. "I hate traditions." They all laughed. Was it so bad? Tanya thought for a second about the man who had joined her on stage at the end of the gig. Minutes which had defined her evening. Maybe it wasn't. "And what, do you plan on playing here again next year, Tanya?" She shook her head and slowly started laughing. "Of course I am."